Silencer Central is a unique position that typically most manufacturers we buy from, we're their biggest seller. So we're in a good position to bring inventory in quickly and continue to keep it on the shelf. So, I mean, we're excited. Goal is to make hay when you can, right?
For sure.
Do I think it'll be this way forever? I hope so. Who knows with the government? I'll be honest. I told someone I would have never have bet money ever that they would have real-time approvals. I could have seen like 90 days, 30 days, 60 days, 15 days. When it first started, it was 2 weeks. So I could fathom that, but like this real-time concept, it was hard for me to swallow at first.
I'm Ryan Gresham, and this is Gun Talk Nation. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by B5 Systems, Stag Arms, Secure It, Vortex Optics, Black Hills Ammunition, Range Ready, Ruger, and SDS Imports. All right, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we're talking, I don't know what we're going to talk about, Brandon. Silencers, machine guns, the ATF, all the fun stuff.
Hey, sounds like fun to me.
Like the guy who, the ATF came into his office, Sheriff Jim Wilson. He goes, Sheriff Jim, the ATF here. He goes, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. I love all your products.
Perfect.
So Silencer Central, I mean, we had you on before. I mean, you guys have kind of changed the world and how people buy silencers. But I was kind of thinking about just the latest with everything going on. Maybe give people, we've talked about it a little bit on the show, but give them just a brief update on what's going on with processing times, because they are really fast all of a sudden, and it's great. But then people go, but what's going on?
Yeah. So are you curious? You're curious about the why behind it, and then also like actually what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Because look, you talk to the ATF more than most of us.
Right.
So what's the story here?
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, I had a meeting with the people that lead sort of the NFA branch up in West Virginia. So National Farms Branch, they're the ones that approve all the suppressors. And I've been doing this about 20 years. So they're not going to be able to convince me of something that, unless it's actually true. So I spent a half a day there. So here's what my take on the situation was. So the acting director of the NFA is what I would consider a gun guy. I just did a tour with him in the reference library where they have really kind of every gun that's ever been made type situation. And he knew a lot about them. Neat. So I can tell he's a gun guy. So he put on his attorney hat, and I think he started working the approvals, the Form 4s. And what he found, or what he's reported he found, was 70 to 80% of the processes they were doing digitally, they did not need to be doing.
Wow.
So essentially a lot of things had carried over from the processes they had done from a verification on paper, had kind of come over to digital, and no one had gone through with their lawyer hat and said what's actually required by statute to be done.
And they say, why are we doing this? I don't know. It's because it's the way we've always done it.
Yeah. So I think it was brilliant. Like basically he said, I'm going to try to do 100 of these a week. And by doing them, he realized a lot of the computer system was able to verify and check stuff that there was no need to do manually. So they were able to cut 70 to 80% of the actual work from doing an approval gone.
So are you saying that the acting director of the NFA went in there and got his hands dirty and was doing the processing himself?
Yes, absolutely. And so was his boss, actually.
And he was wanting to make things more efficient?
That's the impression I got.
He's going to get fired right away.
Totally.
Why are you here? You don't understand what we're doing here.
Totally, yeah. It was fascinating to me. And, we conference called in Larry Keene from NSSF, and he pushed them pretty hard with questions like that. And I mean, I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive to learn.
It is. It's cool.
So the other analogy that they gave me that I could kind of comprehend and visualize is, so pretend like you're at a fast food restaurant and you order a burger that you want it, extra pickles, extra mustard, whatever. You have a special order. So before the ATF would let you sit in line and then everyone backed up behind you. Now they say, sir, go park over here and we're going to process everybody else. So that's the analogy. So what they're doing is ATF, the rate limiting step has mostly been background checks. So they're relying on the FBI. So what they're doing now is they're submitting as soon as they get a day's worth of data submitted to them on Form 4s, they submit that data each day to the FBI, and the FBI, 71% of the background checks get an instant approval.
Instant approval.
Yeah. So what that means is 20
large fries, large fries.
Yeah.
This is an easy one.
Yeah. So 71% of people that do an individual are going through pretty much real time. So if they submit to them on a batch, say on a Monday, they said typically they hear back within 24 hours from ATF on all those. So what are reasons why you'd be in that 29%? So if you've ever been arrested, they typically have to look and make sure that ever how it ended is not something that would make you a prohibited person.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is if there's a felon with the same date of birth or same name in your state, they have to check and make sure you're not them. And that takes a manual review, and then that's what slows it down. But still in-house right now, we're seeing a little over 100 days and approvals on average. That's everything. That's all together. And
and the trusts take longer, you said.
Typically. So yeah. So what's interesting at Silencer Central is now we do both. I mean, Silencer Central has sort of been famous of, hey, we give you a trust free, no charge. So a lot of people think of us as doing just trust, but we do both. So we submit it as an individual or a trust. So again, just to recap the individual. So if we submit you as an individual, ATF is telling us 71% of the time they'll be approved within 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, that's impressive. So then the trust, their goal is to be at 2 to 3 weeks. And the reason why it takes a little bit longer is they have to manually review them. Last I checked, we were 40% of the volume at ATF for trust. That's based on them saying how many they had pending that were trust, and then us looking at our internal numbers. And their goal is to get down to 2 to 3 weeks, but the benefit is because we submit so many, they know ours. And so they kind of have what they call like a fast lane or a swim lane. So like if a Silencer Central trust comes in, it goes into a fast lane because they're familiar with it. They know that on page 9 or whatever is where the people would be that need to have a background check. So their main goal is making sure that the background check's done on anyone that's listed in the trust. That's why it takes a little bit longer on average. But their goal is to go down to 2 to 3 weeks. We're probably seeing about maybe 5 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks right now for trust. So it's tightening that gap a little bit. So it's interesting because I think most of our consumers or our customers that are repeats have kind of bought into the trust thing. So they're like, hey, if it's only going to take a month and I thought it was going to take 10 to 12, I'm okay with continuing to use the trust.
It's still faster.
Yeah, but then there's some people that are like, no, I want it instantly. I want to use it to hunt next week. I want to roll the wheel, and hopefully I'm the guy that's in that 71%, and I'm going to submit it as an individual so I can get it tomorrow. So it does both. But that's the background on the ATF cutting out, the duplicative processes they didn't need to be doing, then them changing their format. I think their goal also is to bring a small FBI division into the NFA branch so that they can do background checks and have a little bit more control over that as well. So I see a lot of improvements. The question I normally get is this sustainable? Because what happened typically is as approval rates go down, demand goes up, and then they get back in the same boat they were in before. I feel like that could happen, but right now I think they're going to continue to approve 71% of them real time. It just is, it's not that hard to do through a digital system. And when I was there 3 weeks ago, they just hired 9 more people. So I think that's also helped the Form 3s, because before Form 3s, which transfer between dealer and dealer, manufacturer, wholesaler, those had gotten a little bit longer and people hypothesized that'd be the new bottleneck, and it probably was for a while. But now we're getting those real time as well.
At least it sounds like they are making an effort to make it go faster. And it doesn't sound like it's a smoke and mirrors gotcha thing. No. They really are trying to just get this stuff out there.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, some people think, well, they want the money. That $200 goes directly to the Treasury. So they don't get the tax stamp money. It goes to the Treasury. I think that the industry groups have done a really good job putting pressure on Congress to put pressure on ATF, because you notice as soon as we got a Republican House of Representatives were majority, you saw a lot of additional scrutiny. Any industry events I went to where ATF presented, even if it was a broad audience, they always started with NFA. It was just hard to explain, hey, why can I buy a gun, have a background check, and walk out the same day? And when I buy a silencer, it takes a year. So there's just that much pressure, I think, just continuing to put that pressure on. They just didn't like the scrutiny, is my assessment, and they found a way to fix it.
So when you shine the light on things, they actually will adjust their behavior.
I agreed. So, and I might even take it a step further. When you put bright people, and I'm not saying the person that was in as the acting director before wasn't bright, but they basically have 2 attorneys that I find to be extremely bright. I know they're gun guys just because when I tour with them and they talk about guns, I could tell they know the guns. So if you put bright people and people that are, probably gun friendly, if you will, in a place that can make a difference, I think it helps.
Total game changer. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back after this. The Ruger Wrangler, the perfect revolver, whether it is your first or your next. Ruger Wrangler 22 LR revolver, single action, so you think of that cowboy action style. Has a lot of style to it, by the way. They've got a bunch of different models here. They've got silver ones, black Cerakoted ones, burnt bronze Cerakoted. They have the the Shody Boy, the barrel length 3.75 inch, kind of short with a little bird's head grip on it. They also have the Long Dog. I'm just making up these names. This is what I would call it if I was in the marketing department. 7.5 inch barrel. Imagine drawing that sucker out of a holster. And they also have the Super Angler, which you can shoot 22 mag through it. So go check it out. They're so much fun. They also have distributor exclusives in various colors like Crushed Orchid, Black Cherry, Dark Earth. It's fun. It's fun. Ruger.com is where you go for that. If you're thinking about exploring your first PCC build or your third one, whatever, pistol caliber carbine build, Aero Precision has the EPC series. Superior performance and reliability in your next pistol caliber carbine PCC build with their premium enhanced pistol caliber EPC parts and accessories. They got receiver sets, they got complete uppers, they got lower receivers, they got upper receivers, they got handguards, barrels, and all the parts you need for it. And they know what they're doing. So go check it out over at aeroprecision.com. Black Hills Ammunition. Here's a little did you know on Black Hills Ammunition. Besides the fact that they make really awesome ammo. They supply all match 5.56 ammo for the U.S. military service rifle teams and provide specialty ammunition for specific military operations. Their success hinges on providing reasonably priced .223 and cowboy action ammunition in more calibers than any other company. Serious shooters use Black Hills ammo, and that is the secret to their success. It's trusted by a lot of serious people. So go check it out over at black-hills.com. TSOS USA, making really nice shooting guns that don't break the bank. TSOS PX9 Gen 3 Carry IO. MSRP on this sucker is $339. And here's the best part of this. Really nice trigger. Really nice. Shot it, and they put that PX9 trigger in a lot of things, and it's just great. Great for everyday carry. Great for target shooting. You can actually run it with 228 pattern magazines. You have Glock pattern sights, which means if you want to swap them out, it's customizable. You can learn more over at tsosusa.com. B5 Systems, firearms, accessories, different parts for your gun. They have different stocks, they have different grips, they have cheek pieces, they have tools, they have handguards, but probably the stocks is where they're most known for what they do. They have the SOP mod government issue, the enhanced SOP mod stock, the Bravo stock, Bravo C stock. They also have the collapsible precision stocks in short, medium, and long. Those are probably ones you're going to want to take a look at over at b5systems.com. Are you thinking about building a gun room or a gun vault, so to speak? Well, Secure Gun Storage has you covered. They have gun room, gun wall panels, and these are kind of modular, configurable panels so you can hang your guns, display your guns, store your guns on the wall. They also have kits, which I really like, the Gun Wall Vault Armory Kit, where you can store a bunch of long guns vertically, which is a great, efficient way to store them and display them. If you have a little man cave, very cool. And you can kind of go as big as the heart desires. You could go to the Armory Kit number 8, which looks like you could store, I don't know, maybe like 40 or 50 long guns, maybe more than that. So go check it out over at secureitgunstorage.com. Vortex Optics. At this point, who doesn't know Vortex Optics? They make rifle scopes, they make binos, they make rangefinders, they make a bunch of different stuff. One of their new lines is the Viper HD family, and I'm looking at the 2-10 optic because it just looks like a scope you could just do pretty much everything with. Deadhold BDC MOA reticle with a 30 millimeter tube. When success rides on the perfect shot, rely on the exceptional versatility and optical performance of the Viper HD. From big game to predators, there's a proven model for every hunting application. Each member of the Viper HD family delivers outstanding image clarity, resolution, and sharpness to ensure your target comes into view with sharp detail. Lots of different size scopes here, different magnifications. You can learn more over at vortexoptics.com. All right. So the ATF, we're enjoying some much faster processing times, which is awesome. What's that doing to silencer sales?
Obviously, it increases demand significantly, but I have to qualify it. Like, so what I just told you now, we haven't really told anyone. No one has told anyone because no one has the inventory.
Right.
So the only people that really know about it are hearsay, or they talk to their friends, or they read online. I'd say the average consumer has very little inclination that there is a faster approval times because, I mean, Silencer Central has inventory because we're always trying to scale up when we need to. So we have inventory, but our backlog honestly has been shipping because, at times we might have 60 or 70,000 pending applications. And when you start getting 1,000 a day or 1,500 or 2,000 a day,
Yeah.
because used to we could ship out 1,000 a day, no problem. Now we have to ship 2,000 or 3,000 out a day. So it creates a different demand on us. But now that we're caught up on shipping out, we're going to start promoting. May 15th is when we're going to start talking about, hey, we could do an individual. Hey, we're seeing 71% approved within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Get one now. You might as well. It's quickest.
Well, we've said for years that the $200 fee tax stamp, it's a bummer, but that's not the big challenge for most people. The big challenge is it's a long wait and it's also not predictable. It's like it might be 9 months, it might be 11, it might be 12, who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, the fact that it's a lot faster is a big deal. That's cool. And probably thinking about people not knowing that this is happening. Most people have their lives.
Yeah, totally,
right.
100%.
Like they
I get it.
They're running a business, whatever.
Yeah.
You and I are in the gun industry, and we're nerding out about this. Like, whoa, did you hear?
Yeah.
But most people, they own guns, they buy ammo, the whatever. But like, I got stuff. I got to drive kids to soccer games. I'm not keeping up with wait times at the ATF.
Yeah, totally, 100%. No, I agree. That's why I think we'll start pushing it pretty hard. Because, like I said, I feel like Silencer Central is a unique position that typically most manufacturers we buy from, we're their biggest seller. So we're in a good position to bring inventory in quickly and continue to keep it on the shelf. So, I mean, we're excited. Goal is to make hay when you can, right?
For sure.
Do I think it'll be this way forever? I hope so. Who knows with the government? I'll be honest. I told someone I would have never have bet money ever that they would have real-time approvals. I could have seen like 90 days, 30 days, 60 days, 15 days. When I first started, it was 2 weeks. So I could fathom that, but like this real-time concept, it was hard for me to swallow at first.
You're like, wait a minute.
Really?
What?
That wasn't even on my wish list.
That's even better than I thought it could
totally.
be. So the other day I was talking with one of your guys and they were talking about you have to have a lot of guns around to do testing. And you've also been in the NFA game for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're kind of a machine gun guy, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't ever tell anyone that.
Like
So I'll have to figure out who told
like,
you.
but like, just, I mean, people in our world, they own machine guns. And I think it's something that people have a curiosity about.
Right.
But they don't know a whole lot about it because they're not easy to own and all this stuff. And so like, I just think it's an interesting subject that I don't know a lot about because two things in the gun world that I am not super knowledgeable on: historical guns and machine guns.
Sure.
Cause they'll say, oh, it's an MG40. I'm like, cool. I'm not super familiar with that.
Right.
You've shot a bunch of different ones. Do you have a favorite?
Machine guns?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I say I have two favorites, but my favorite is MP5.
Yeah.
Full auto. It just runs like a sewing machine. Anytime I tell that someone who shot one, they agree. It just, a lot of times, like if I go to events, like my bank puts on a pheasant hunt in South Dakota. So every year I always bring the MP5 and the ammo, and it's always the coolest thing. A lot of guys are like, what weekend's Maddox going on? We're going, we want to go shoot that machine gun. So the MP5 is super cool. I've even got MP5s. I got 2 of those FBI briefcases where the machine gun's in the inside and the actual handle has the trigger. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's
It'll pick up audience.
Probably one of those things people have seen, but it's like, no, it really exists. And I mean, yes, you can own machine guns. Most people listening to this can own a machine gun.
Yep.
And a lot of people are doing it as investments because I mean, the prices can get kind of crazy, but it's just an interesting subject to get into of like collecting stuff. And I mean, there's a lot of people getting machine guns who like, that is their 401k. They're like, I'm just I'm just buying machine guns.
Yeah. So one interesting fact people don't realize is in May of 1986, the government basically said you can't make any more. So what's out there and what's available is all that will ever be available. So
For consumers. They're still
exactly.
making new
Yes,
ones for
exactly.
law enforcement, military.
Yeah. So we call them like transferable. So in other words, you could transfer it to consumers. And, like you said, most states where silencers are legal, then machine guns are legal. Some states like Minnesota, it has to be a CNR, a Curios and Relics. It has to be old enough, but almost everything's old enough now where it's going to fit into that category.
How old does it have to be for?
I think it's 75 years old for Curios and Relics.
And that's a moving target then.
Yeah, totally everything. And now that the machine guns are pretty much all going to be in that category. But
yeah,
honestly, like as more people bought suppressors and went through the process, it's exactly the same for a machine gun. I was surprised more people didn't buy machine guns.
yeah.
And I even tried like some like wealthier customers. I'll be like, you should really look at machine guns. I mean, you've gone through the process. You got a silencer from us. I'm like, I'm not trying to sell you machine guns because I'm a consumer of machine guns, not a seller. But I was like, you should look into it. And no one ever really does.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because and I've talked to I don't know if you know Dury's Guns, Johnny Dury down in San Antonio. He's one of those guys where I'm like, hey, I need help. If I'm going to go buy something like that, you tell me what I should buy, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know enough and I don't want to screw it up.
Yeah. So I would say the most common and the one I like to get are like the MP5 trigger kits. So basically that trigger is what is actually it's the sear. So the sear is what is licensed as the machine gun.
Wow.
And what's cool about that is it's plug and play. So you can put it in modern versions of MP5s.
Okay.
So basically you take out the trigger group and you can put it in another one. So those are really popular, the MP5 sears. So
could you do that? Because they sell a semi-auto MP5.
Yeah, you can take it out, plug in the full auto version.
Really?
And then the registered machine gun would be the actual trigger pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I bought a lot of those. But gosh, Thompsons are cool to have. I mean, Uzis.
I've shot
nice.
Thompsons. They're so neat. And then you get into kind of the Thompsons have this crazy weight to them, very heavy.
Yes,
shooting a 45 ACP.
Oh, yeah.
They're so fun, and I guess the ones that are really fast cyclical rate. Wow, that's easy to say. Are fun.
Yeah.
And the ones with a slow rate of fire are also fun.
Totally.
Boop, 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 boop,
Yes. Totally, yeah. And of course, we're spoiled being a dealer because I can get dealer samples. So I've got some Chris Vectors that are really nice, kind of the modern Thompson, if you will. And then I've got a Glock 18, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Got a stock on it so you can lean into it and shoot it. That's fun. I have an FN saw. I got a lot. I'm bad about collecting them over the years.
Well, there is no such thing as a cheap hobby.
Yeah.
If you get into collecting something, it could be Jeep Wranglers, it could be stamps, it could be knives. You're gonna start out collecting knives, and you're gonna have several different buck knives, and then you're gonna be at Blade Show, and you're gonna be buying $1,000 knife, or swords, or battle axes, and you go, whoa, this got out of hand quickly.
Totally. I always tell people, my background, I'm a pharmacist, so I had a day job and I did the silencers on the side. When I first started, obviously I had no money, but then as I started making a little bit, I always said that, if I make too much, the government's going to take 40%. My wife's going to spend the other 60%. So why not buy more machine guns? So I've got like safes lined up full of machine guns, and just tell the wife every year, I'm sorry, the side hobby just hasn't made any money this year. I'll try harder next year.
We're going out of business for 10 years in a row here.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh. So what's in the world of silencers? What are the trends that you're seeing these days for what are people buying? What seems to be hot? Has anything changed or maybe not changed?
Yeah, I'd say that one thing I've seen change is, when I first started doing titanium at Silencer Central, people thought we were crazy. Those won't be durable. That's not going to work. And now I'd say that titanium is really the standard. It's harder material to work with, so you got to get the right manufacturing equipment and right manufacturers to do it. But it's just lighter weight and it's stronger. So you see a transition more to that. I see a transition to hunting. Less people used to use them in hunting. Now more people are using them in hunting, which is great. I see shorter, fatter. So people don't necessarily like that long length on the end. So they're a little bit fatter, shorter. So we talked about, the banished backcountry is a nice, 5.5 inch short titanium, quiet for hunting. And then our Speed K titanium version is really nice for like an AR platform, just to stop the blowback, but then also have a chance to mitigate the
2x4.
Yes, the 2x4.
You got to explain. You guys called the Speed K the 2x4. Why?
Yeah, just because 4 inches long, 2 inch diameter.
It's a fatty, short fatty.
Yeah, totally.
Because you're going to get that volume, reduce the length of it. But this is a new technology. This particular, the Banished Speed K, is really a little bit of a new animal for you guys.
Yeah, I tell people I send it to an attorney to make sure we didn't copy anyone because,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to do anything that would infringe on someone else's intellectual property. And they came back with, hey, we see 4 things that we think are patentable and no one else has done. Like we have like a fin baffle. The first baffle is a fin, which helps with the blowback. It actually disperses it, so you have less coming out as quickly. So that's helpful. Also helps flash mitigation. We have like the last baffle's vented, so at the top you have holes where it could come out. That helps with the blowback as well, and it's we call it controlled flow technology. Then also just the short nature of it is nice, and then we
Mm-hmm.
have what they call clipped wall baffles, so different baffles built with inside it because it's 3D printed. So a lot of new technology in there that people haven't seen, people haven't heard of. I think that having a full titanium version that we're launching at NRA is going to get people more interested because they're going to be able to actually feel how light it is. That
Oh, yeah.
8.6 ounces is super light.
Really light, really light. All right, dumb question. 3D printing titanium.
Yes.
Are they doing that with titanium dust?
Yes, exactly. So it took us a long time to find a manufacturer that we were comfortable with that can
Yeah,
make.
that seems really.
It's
You
very
can't just
rare.
find any machine shop to do
No,
that.
no, absolutely. But yeah, it's some kind of dust they make it
Wow.
from. And what's been great is we partnered with Federal Premium Ammunition to make these. So we tested these with 30,000 rounds, believe it or not, ammunition through those.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. We got good pricing on the ammunition, so made it helpful. And then also partnering with some other optics manufacturers that do a lot of testing with full auto and also optics and suppressors has been nice to sort of partner with other people to let them help us get that many rounds through these things.
Speed K is a 30 cal can or 5.56 can?
5.56.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's an important notation.
Yes.
Don't screw this onto your 30 cal.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
It'll be somewhat quiet for one shot.
Yes. 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 Just 5.56.
Talk about dedicated suppressors. So a 5.56 can, a lot of people will start out with either a 22 can because they're just fun and light and quiet and a little cheaper,
Yep.
or they start out with a 30 cal can like the Banish 30,
Right.
because part of the logic is I can put it on a lot of different guns. I can use it on my 6.5, I can use it on my 223, but why would someone go to a dedicated 223 5.56 can for their regular AR versus just throw a 30 cal can on?
Yeah. Good question. I mean, so this is my own experience doing it 20 years. I usually say, whatever gun you shoot the most and you enjoy shooting, get a suppressor dedicated for it because it's going to work better than you thought it would. And then it's easier to mentally justify buying more silencers. Because obviously you can buy a 30 cal, like the Banish 30 is modular, so you can make it shorter and you could take a 30 cal suppressor and put it on a 5.56 and it'll work well. But it's going to work better if you get one made specifically for that. It's going to be a
Because
little
the
bit
hole
quieter.
is, I mean, that's the whole deal, right? The
Yeah.
whole deal. Get it?
Yeah.
The
Tighter.
hole is tighter, so not as much gas, not as much sound escaping.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, once you get that suppressor on that gun and sighted in and really tuned in, now you kind of, I mean, my thought is just leave it on there.
Oh yeah, and I always say people love the suppressor, using it more than they thought they would, and then once they use it, they're like, okay, you're right, I got to get more than one. And I think some
Yes.
people are scared to jump into the suppressor game because they're like, oh, what if I like it better than I thought I would, and I got to buy one for everything. So sometimes you could start. I would say our best seller is the Banish 30 because you could kind of use it on all
Sure.
your rifles,
Sure.
5.56 up to 300 Win Mag, 300 Weatherby. So it's very versatile. But then they start specializing after that, like you said.
I feel like because the processing times have gotten so much faster, you guys have helped make the paperwork part really not a big deal.
Yeah.
I think what's happening is you had that transition, if we go back 70 years, where most guns were iron sights.
Yeah.
And then they started putting rifle scopes on. And like, what? Well, I don't need that. I can hit whatever I need to hit with these iron sights. Well, you can, but it's going to be better. And now the idea of having like one scope that I put on each gun when I want to go shoot it is
Yeah.
absurd. You're like, no, we need to put an optic on all the guns.
Solely.
Now it's like, okay, I've got all these guns in my safe. I need to have a suppressor on each gun. And there is an argument for optimizing what suppressor that is on that particular platform, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and once you sight it in and you take it off, it's always going to be sighted in once you put it back on there. But I think some people do worry about, okay, well, which one did I put on that one last? Because I have that problem. because I'm like, all right, what rifle am I taking? What hunt am I going on? And what silencer do we have it on last time? So now I almost label them, like almost put like a teller,
Oh, sure.
put a piece of tape on there. So like blue tape on the silencer, blue tape on that gun. So then I know every time to
They
keep
go
the same.
together.
Yeah. Just
It's a good
if
idea.
not, and I'm fortunate I have a team that's, helping me manage all this stuff, but it
Yeah.
can be difficult when you have a safe with, sometimes I've seen as much as 150,000 silencers in our inventory at once. So
Wow.
just keeping up with which ones are mine versus which ones are everybody else's.
You guys are pretty good at paperwork, though.
Yeah. I mean, ATF has been good to work with, allowing us to do all of our processes digitally. So it works out well where the consumer can do everything, DocuSign.
Yeah.
Makes it nice.
I like the stories of like ATF going, I don't think that that's legal. And Brandon's over here going, no, actually it is. Let me explain. You're the guy where they're like, well, the government's going to, well, this needs to be filled out in triplicate and you need to send this copy here and this copy here. And then, and most of us are like, oh, and you're going, okay, so just triplicate. That's fine.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, and it's evolved, and I would say we're still educating people because our business model is so unique. But one of the ones I do remember is I think it was my third license was Montana. We would work a lot of shows up in North Dakota, and a lot of the oil fields had Montana residents. So Montana wanted to be able to buy from us. And I got a call from the regional manager. He said, I see your application to be an SOT dealer here in Montana. He's like, I've been doing this like 25 years, and I don't think what you want to do is going to work. So, but I'm happy to come meet with you and talk about it. He said, I just don't see this possible. So of course I flew in, drove there, met with him and opened up, the federal statutes. They used to give you a printed book and I had highlighted and he read it and he goes, okay, clearly you know more about this than I do. We're going to approve your license and, best of luck in Montana. If you have any questions, let us know. So I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. This guy's been here forever and everyone knows him and he'd never heard of what we were doing. So
yeah, if you're willing to dig into all that stuff and highlight it.
Totally.
It's funny. I've been told that's the same way for gun people, industry, that they should handle Facebook and Instagram and YouTube is dig into their policies.
Yeah.
Copy them, highlight them, send it to them when they say, well, you can't post this picture of a gun. No, in your policy, you say I can.
Yeah.
Oh, we said that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's same thing, right?
Totally.
The government's this big organization.
Yeah. True.
Facebook is a enormous organization.
Yeah. Bureaucracy.
And bureaucracy is what it is at this point.
Yeah, and the hard part with the social media folks is typically they're in areas where those people have just never seen firearms. I mean,
yeah.
I remember when I lived in New Jersey, I was a manager up there, and people were like, do you actually own firearms? And I told them how many, and they're like, oh my God, why would anyone? And once you talk to them, you find out they've never seen a firearm unless it's with law enforcement. They've never owned one. They don't know anyone that owns one.
Yeah.
So I could see the same thing with Facebook. You got someone in California who's never seen a firearm reviewing your post and going, well, it's clearly not legal.
My dad likes to tell this story. Occasionally he would get people find out what he does or talking to him. They're like, and there's somebody from New York or someone from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I don't know anyone who owns guns. And he would go, yeah, you do. You guys just don't talk about it like we talk about it. Because my friends, we all know each other.
Yeah.
We know we own guns.
Yeah.
He said, go ask around. When next time you're at a dinner party, you're hanging out, ask them, do you guys own guns? Like, do I know anybody? He goes, every time I'd get a call a month later, Tom, you were right.
Yeah.
Like half the people I know own guns. I'm like, yeah, you guys just are keeping it a secret from each other.
Yeah, that's funny. That's cool.
You all own guns.
Yeah, I like it. That's good. That's cool.
And that's fairly true across the country. Certainly there's higher gun ownership in certain states, Ohio and Texas or whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit lower in certain states. But I mean, it's not like zero. Like even in a state, I don't know, pick one, California.
Yeah.
It's still like 30% of the people own guns.
Yeah.
So if you don't own a gun, someone on either side of you, on your neighbors, owns a gun.
Right. Yeah.
Like every other third house has a gun.
Wow.
Even in a state that doesn't have a lot of guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's kind of becoming that way with silencers, I think. I mean, more and it's becoming less unique.
Yes, agreed.
Right?
Totally. Yeah. Because there's so many benefits if you think about it. Reduced recoil, don't have to wear earplugs, better accuracy. There's no downside.
Any idea how many silencers, how many people, not maybe how many silencers, but how many people own silencers in the U.S.?
So I know there's about 4 million that have been issued, and that's probably old data. There's probably more, maybe 4.5 million. But typically what I see is most people that buy one buy more than one. So it's probably 2.5 million people own all 4.5 million of them out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very concentrated, which from a political standpoint, I want as many people to own them just because
Well, that's where I was going to
get
go.
deregulated. Yeah, there's enough
Yes.
people that are voting and educating their elected officials that then they get deregulated, then you even sell more. 'Cause if you could go to Walmart and buy it just like a regular background check, that'd be pretty amazing.
It'd be amazing. Yeah, I think that's the goal, everybody. If you're listening to this, go buy them just
Yeah.
because, not because they're cool, but
Yeah.
we need to get those numbers up.
Yeah,
Those are rookie
totally.
numbers.
Yeah, rookie.
We, like if we're at 3 million people in
Yeah.
the US that own silencers,
That's pretty small.
and it's not significant enough perhaps for politicians to care.
Right. Agreed.
Because when the NRA has had their troubles lately, but when the NRA, which has been the biggest lobbyist group for gun rights,
Yep.
would walk into a senator's office or a congressman's office, you know what the first question they ask NRA is? How's membership?
Yeah.
Basically, should I care
Yeah.
that you're coming in here to talk to me?
True.
When you say, well, we're at 3 million. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
If you say we're at 20 million membership,
Gets attention.
now it's like, I have to listen to these people.
Totally.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they say, what could the NRA do if they had 20 million members? The answer is anything they want.
Yeah. True.
You're at that point, you're AARP or
Yeah.
one of these giant lobbyist groups, which is what the AARP is, everybody, just in case you didn't know.
Totally.
They're a lobbyist group.
Totally.
Yeah, so I think that's a big deal. So maybe you don't need that 5th AR, that 5th Glock. Maybe go buy a silencer.
Yeah, I always say I've never found anyone that bought one that didn't love it and said, "Hey, I wish
Yeah.
I'd done this a whole lot sooner." You probably see the same thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Reduced recoil, fantastic for getting new shooters into it, or your
Yeah.
wife or your kids or
Sure.
whatever it may be. They're going to be more comfortable shooting these guns. And even if, hey, if your goal is selfish, like I just want them to get into my hobby.
Yeah, there you
Hey,
go.
cool.
Yeah, totally.
That works too.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
Awesome. Any new updates with Silencer Central that we want to share, Brandon? I mean, you guys are rocking it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only updates are some people don't realize we sell every product. Some people don't realize that we're due individuals, not just trust. And maybe if people haven't heard that we ship silencer to your front door and you do all the paperwork via DocuSign. So you can essentially order a silencer from your couch, never leave your house, and silencer shows up to your front
It will
door.
show up.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part because I've sent several friends to you guys, and I'm like, and guys who have never owned a silencer.
Right.
And I go, here's the best part.
Yeah,
It's gonna show up on your door one day,
totally.
and you're gonna go, is this real?
Yeah, totally.
And
agree.
and you know what happens every time? I get a text message of a picture of a silencer.
love
They're
it.
like, dude, you were right.
I love
They
it.
just delivered it.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
I know.
That's awesome. That's perfect.
Awesome. Brandon, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
All right, that's it for us. We will see you all next time on Gun Talk Nation.